Yeah, so the Cardano Foundation's role has been evolving. They're actually hiring a technical team, and I'm curious, from your perspective, what is the Cardano Foundation's role with the Cardano community and also the protocol itself?
It's not. I mean, if it was my decision, what for them to do, I'd do things differently. But the point of checks and balances and separations of powers is it's not my decision. I don't have that role. And it's not my job to tell the Cardano Foundation what to do or what not to do. It's my job just to say, what does the ecosystem need, in my view, as an independent participant like you are. And every day on your show, you tell people what you think. And every day I tell people what to think on my MA. But our voices are equal in that respect. So I would like for the foundation, for example, to be very involved in funding community events. I would like for the foundation, for example, to be very involved in funding standards research. I'd like for them to be very involved in lobbying for pro-crypto legislation. I'd like for them to be very involved in intervening where there's clear criminality or agency failures in the ecosystem that harm every single ADA holder. Now, these roles would require technical acumen and scientific acumen because by definition, they have to understand the technology to have an opinion on what's harmful to it. So it's great that they're staffing out. It's a little harder to justify saying, well, why don't we make them a software company? And because then they're picking winners and losers and they're creating canonical technology outside of the concept of creating a technical fellows program and specifications in these things. Like, for example, we do need wallet certifications, and they would be a natural body to be a standards body for that. So then Lace can get certified and Flint can get certified and other wallets like Nami and Eternal and so forth could get certified. And that's just better for everybody in that respect. But it's not my place or role to tell them that. We don't have a board seat. We're not probably going to get one. There's no mechanism for us to get elected to one. The community has no voice or say in the governance of the Cardano Foundation. This is not criticism. These are just facts of structure. And we can either complain about it or we can accept it as it is and say, well, what value can they produce given the structure and form that they have? And what other organizations do we need to construct to augment and enhance the existing incumbents that we have? So I try to stay in my lane in that respect. And I worry a lot these days about sustainability, technology, legacy. And I worry a lot these days about making foundational elements are present in our technology so that we can harness the power of the community. I have failed if IO is necessary for Cardano to work. I don't believe it is at this juncture, and for a long time it hasn't been. We just add value. And so every day I wake up and I say, are the things we do making the ecosystem more decentralized or less? Every day I wake up, are the things we do growing leaders and giving them the power they need to do things or less? Even the C Fund, where we started investing in things, what that did is it gave resources to dozens of dApps and gave them the ability to exist. I don't own enough of any of those to be able to influence their roadmaps. I just kind of gave them some of the resources they needed to skirt along, and now they're building things like Wing Riders is and Sunday is and so
I say a lot of them are here.
Exactly. And I didn't make the decision for them to be here. I didn't call them up and say, oh, you got to come to Rare Bloom or anything. No.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was your job,
Yeah.
And so I just showed up and they just showed up, and it's better for the community because of that.
Do you think that the Cardano Foundation, you mentioned that, if Cardano relies on IOG, that's a bad thing. Does Cardano rely on the Cardano Foundation for its success?
No, because there's been multiple scandals there throughout its life cycle, and had it relied upon them, we'd already be dead. I think the greatest sign of decentralization was the whole Michael Parsons affair and so forth, because what it did is it showed that Cardano didn't need its foundation any more so than Bitcoin needed its foundation. You have to think about these things in a positive, constructive way instead of a destructive way. A destructive way is saying, well, if they're not here, would we all die? A constructive way is saying their presence makes it more valuable.
Yeah.
It makes the system better. It gives you new capabilities and new relationships. What they do best, I think, is acting as an objective, neutral party that has the ability to go talk to other blockchain ecosystems, regulators, exchanges, banks, have them go and talk to Fortune 500 companies, have them go and talk to standards bodies, these types of things, and represent as a voice some objectivity and credibility about what Cardano is and what Cardano isn't. The minute that they get involved in the governance of the day-to-day affairs of the protocol, the parameters of the protocol, then they've gone into a body that is adding value to everybody, to a body that's picking winners and losers. It's a very different role, and certainly it's a necessary one. But for that role to be legitimate, you need a democratic mandate. In the absence of it, it creates a lot of problems very quickly. There are plenty of people, despite the fact that I'm the founder of Cardano and I've done a lot for this ecosystem, that aren't very happy with me having a lot of influence and would rather other people have that. And they've been very vocal on Twitter and Reddit and other places about it. And in some cases, they've left the ecosystem because they think that I'm a bad actor. And that's a good thing, because at the end of the rainbow, even though I'm the founder, I didn't win an election. I don't hold a democratic mandate. I need to get out of the way in that respect. And that's the point of the age of Voltaire, is to ensure that we have checks and balances and good governance structures, and everybody who's at the table is there because either the community decided explicitly for them to be there, or that they serve an objective, neutral role where they're enhancing value. Now, that said, officials at all of our organizations could run for office, and probably should. And what that would do is give them political mandates to go and pursue things where they have the power to actually make decisions that have positive and negative consequences on particular ventures inside our ecosystem. Just like the President of the United States, just like a senator, just like a congressman has a voice and power, and the exercising of that voice on power on behalf of others picks winners and losers in that respect. If you're a senator, at the end of the day, you got to decide with a regulation who to help and who to hurt. And if you're the president, you got to decide, who to go to war with in this respect. Do we bomb this person? Do we don't do this, and so forth? Who are they to make that decision? Well, they are the ones we chose. We gave them that power in that respect. They didn't just show up and, go through the White House gates and say, okay, I guess I'm president now. We have a term for that. It's called a dictatorship. It's called a coup. It's what totalitarians do. So if we are to learn from what humanity has gained over the last 2 centuries, it's very important that we build something that is inclusive and democratic at its core. And that's one of the key differentiators between Ethereum and Bitcoin and Cardano. We're very explicit as an ecosystem, and we're moving in that direction, whereas they're implicit, and they seem to be more than comfortable having these unelected power domains that have perpetual influence for long arcs of time over their ecosystem. And the ownership of those ecosystems, namely holding Ether and Bitcoin, gives you no say in any of that. Whereas the holding of ADA does give you a say. Just like being a citizen of China gives you no say over Xi, whereas being a citizen of the United States gives you some say over your senator, congressman, and the president.
Well, thank you for clearing that for me. As this ecosystem evolves, I'm trying to.
By the way, that's
learn.
one man's opinion.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, sorry.
No worries.